All right. So yesterday had a bit of an interesting video. Kind of went down the rabbit hole again, but I figured it's a good idea to kind of counterbalance that video with something on the other side of things. And I figured, what a great time, given everything that's happening in gaming right now, to ask the question and to give my opinion on how the hell Star Citizen even exists. So, in an environment, in an industry, where titles that have only just been released like 3, 4 weeks ago are now having deep discounts where it seems that they are almost begging players to give their games a chance. In a world like this, in a world where this is the reality of the gaming market, how the hell are we talking about a game where I'm flying around right now in a $650 ship? How is this possible? What would make anybody want to spend this amount of money in the game? Clearly, the market doesn't allow for something like this to exist. And I think that what people don't understand, especially in the gaming industry, is that analytics are a great way to figure out what type of platform users want their games to be delivered on. If you're aiming for a certain market, where are the most users that play that type of game? Are they on console? Then probably go after console. Mundane facts like that, but judging player satisfaction isn't something that I really think that you can rely on analytics for. I think that it's something that it's an art. It's not a science. It's about the intangibles. It's about the personal experiences when you play a game. And a lot of players who look at this title and who think back to things like Privateer, things like Wing Commander, and other games of that genre from that era, they look back at those and they see those as being very real games, and they wish that someone would revisit that with the technology that we have today and develop a game that is truly immersive, that is so broad, that has such a huge sandbox quality to it, that players can literally travel billions upon billions of kilometers, spending hours traveling in space flight, just trying to accomplish even some of the more basic things and enjoy the hell out of it. Players want these immersive experiences, and it's not something that you can find on a spreadsheet. I think it's this inconvenient reality that the game industry loves to dodge and they love to hide from. And especially when they're trying to peddle their games, they don't realize that they've become such mass manufacturers of games that they don't really understand the games that they make or the audiences that they make them for anymore. I think that, going all the way back to the very early days of Star Citizen, I don't think that it was the ships. Some people say, oh, they were talking about the Idris and they were showing us the Hornet in that trailer. And I don't think it was the ships that sold people on the game. I think it was the idea of the game and what they wanted to do with the game. Now, certainly, there are going to be parts of that are going to shift, that are going to change, that are going to kind of go in a different direction as the reality pans out. There's the intention and then there's the execution, right? There's going to be a little bit of difference there. You have to expect it. And certainly if you look at the ships that we got in the very beginning versus the ships that we're getting now, right? The difference is obvious. But I think it was the idea around the game, how the game was going to work, how the world was going to work. Sure, there's a lot of us who would look at the demo and see the guy picking up the cup of coffee and the liquid swirls around in the cup and be like, so who cares? But then there's other people who's like, no, The devil is in the details. That's that little piece that kind of makes it feel a little bit more immersive. You know, it's that thing that draws you into the game, that makes you kind of want to stay in that universe. A lot of us look at movies like Blade Runner, movies like Star Trek, Star Wars, things like that. Oh, what would it be like to not just be able to visit that universe for 2.5 hours, but what would it be like to live in that universe for hours? What would it be like to be the captain of that Corellian Corvette? What would it be like to be the captain of the Star Destroyer? What would it be like to be the captain of a Rebel cruiser or a shuttlecraft? You know? And all of a sudden someone comes up and says, we're going to do that. And we're going to do that in the most realistic way possible. There's a lot of issues, with Star Citizen. UI issues, things that, we've talked about them at length. But, it's uncharted territory. How many companies do you really think are going to take on a project like this? Very, very few. How do you explain this to investors? How do you explain this to the money people? Oh, we're gonna completely invent a whole new game, and by the time we've got everything sewn up and done, it'll probably take a decade. How do you go to Wall Street with that proposal and not get laughed out of the room? But gamers know they want a game like that, and I think that's what drives ship sales. Some people say, oh yeah, it's the cool ship, and someone says, oh, I love the way that ship looks, I have to have it, and things like that. But I think that underneath it all it's the universe that ship is going to inhabit. It's the idea of building the universe that ship is going to inhabit. That's what people, I think, are really interested in the most, is that game experience that reminds you of those old days. So many games that you can think of, even Privateer, got Diablo 2, going around and exploring the world, and every time it changed, every time the layout was different. And, just kind of sitting there and listening to the music and just kind of being drawn into that environment, and drawn into that lore, into that mythology, into that world, just getting lost in it. It seems like every 6 months we're being hit by this new fad in gaming. It's, oh man, look, Battle Royale games, you want to get in on those. And certainly there is this shifting transient audience of gamers that jumps from flavor of the month to flavor of the month. But I really think that I'm a different person in that way. I have played the same MMORPG almost since the beginning. Almost 14 years. That's been one thing. I love those immersive experiences. Now, in total truth and full disclosure, even that game, I've gotten to a point where I've admitted it to scum members who asked about it, and I've admitted it to the players that I play the game with. I've said, honestly, if it wasn't for the people that I was playing with, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be playing at all. I probably would have quit, 5-6 months ago. The only reason why I'm still here is because of the people that I play with, and because playing with them yields such high rewards. That's pretty much the only hook that I have left in that game. And certainly that is a game that is in the midst of a serious downturn. And I think a lot of it has to do with over-reliance on analytics and not enough, looking into building a game experience that you can't quantify or qualify with a number. Something that's just an emotional reaction that you get from the content, which is so hard to create, so it's so hard to kind of explain to, especially to people who just don't understand. I think that in a weird way, Star Citizen is the game that for a lot of us it's the game that we always knew we were, right? Even though we didn't know what it was. It was that thing that we were always kind of going for, and even going into other games. I did play a whole lot of Battlefield way back in the day. I did play a whole lot of World of Tanks back in the day. I played a lot of those types of games. It was kind of easy to pick up, easy to put down games. And I always found that even with the best titles, I was like, man, I wish they would expand this. Man, I wish they would kind of open up the world to us and let us explore what's going on in the world. Like, I wonder what's happening in that bunker that's all walled off. I wonder, what's over those hills. I wonder what's around the next corner. And being cut off from those areas, I think that, on the one side, I can see that they're trying to preserve their core game. They don't want to kind of dilute their efforts, but at the same time, it's probably because there's no time to really expand on any of it because, okay, well, that's number 3. Time to start working on number 4 now. Got to get it out next year before Christmas. And that's really the only concern anymore. The universe itself is just a means to an end. And it's not really like a passion project or a labor of love, which more often than not, the best games that we've ever played are. But anyways, that's my opinion on how Star Citizen why Star Citizen continues to succeed even when some of the biggest AAA developers right now are probably having to answer or avoid some really big questions. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.